Hello, everybody all around the world. Finland, Nordic, Europe, USA, South America, China, Australia, wherever you are. It's Mika Vauhkala here, and I'm with Tuukka Lampela, law student, my legal team member from Finland, and we are going through the application to the European Court of Human Rights, me against the state of Finland. This was filed in March, and it's now under examination at the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, France. Case is active. And first, we went from page 1 to 7. This is a three-set series, this main application. And now we go from page number 8 to roughly 14, 15. And we go sort of line by line. And this is very important information for everybody, whether you were vaccinated or not, or you had a COVID pass or not for the future. And yeah, this will be on YouTube and Rumble on X at Mika Vauhkala. You can watch it and share it later to anyone. Let's go, Tuukka. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. And how are you?
Sun shines outside and it makes you feel good. And yeah, I love the sunshine. Cannot complain. But
Yeah.
now we have important things to talk about here, and we will go to the letter of law, legal. So let's have fun at the same time. And Tuukka, mic is yours.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so uh, maybe I should just say something about what we talked about the last time. We talked about the judge of your case at the district court and our arguments about him being partial. And we talked about dismissing our key evidence and key witnesses without proper reasoning. And what other things we had? Well, okay, they related to the topic of a fair trial. And it was mostly this kind of processual stuff, not so much material relating to your original case. And last time we left here what you can see on the screen, and like I said, this is quite technical. And if Mika has any questions or comments, feel free to interrupt or comment. And and okay, maybe I'll say something about the themes that we will try to.
Yes, please.
Now,
That's very good.
today, what we try to go through today. First, we have this that you can see now on the screen about the Finnish state's failure to invoke the derogation clause. This is our first main topic today. After this, we have argumentation relating to the proportionality of the COVID pass legislation and proportionality of the effects that it had on Mika. And after that, we will review argumentation about the different kinds of discrimination that this COVID pass legislation led to, several different kinds of discrimination. But yeah, let's start
go
here.
to this first part, and this is very interesting because we didn't have this in the Finnish district neither appeal or the Supreme Court filings, even though they were really comprehensive themselves. But this one is a new one, which we have proven now to the European Court of Human Rights. And simply, what is this?
Yeah, so Virginie came up with this, and it's a very, very powerful argument.
Sorry, interruption. So for those who are watching for the first time, Virginie is my lawyer from France who has filed the case to the European Court. So when we refer to her, we call her just Virginie.
Yes, and this 20-page letter is written by her, and it's written originally in French, and I think it's translated with the DPL application to English. Yes, so yeah, basically what this derogation clause is about is I could we could say that it's we have in Finnish this saying hätä ei lue lakia, emergency doesn't read law. So this is basically a kind of a form of this thought. So this the Convention of Human Rights, the European Convention of Human Rights, and its Article 15 gives the member states this possibility to, if there is a serious emergency. Okay, now we can start reading here.
I can read it so you can have a little break.
Okay.
In accordance with the provisions of Article 15 of the European Court of Human Rights, first, in time of war or other public emergency threatening, really hard to pronounce, the life of the nation, any high contracting party may take measures derogating from its obligations under this convention to the extent strictly required by the exigencies of the situation, provided that such measures are not inconsistent with its other obligations under international law. And 3, any high contracting body exercising this right of derogation shall keep the Secretary General of the Council of Europe fully informed of the measures taken and the reasons for them.
Yeah, thank you. We can stop there. So, yeah, so the point here is that if there is a war or other kind of public emergency threatening the life of the nation, any member state can sort of apply to derogate from the obligations of the convention. So, for example, in times of war, we could say that, okay, we have such a difficult time now, so we cannot protect, for example, the right to religion, the freedom of religion, or freedom of speech. So if there would be an emergency, this very serious emergency, and a member state thinks that we are in such an emergency that we cannot cope with the requirements of the Convention of Human Rights, then a member state can basically send a notice to the Council of Europe's Secretary General to say that we have a hard time here. We have to we have to do things not so well here. Okay. So let's go on. We have established the basics here, and Okay, so yeah, okay. Maybe we should say also that if a member state applies to use this possibility of derogation, it can be used only to derogate from certain rights of the convention. So in any case, a member state cannot derogate from, for example, the right to life or the right to human dignity. So even at times of war, the member states cannot, for example, uh, start to derogate from the right to life by, for example, killing people or torturing people. Okay, this derogation possibility does not give a possibility to derogate, for example, from the right to life or to the right to human dignity. And so it's actually interesting that during the COVID-19 era, different member states, acted very differently. For example, Sweden, for the start, for the at least first year, maybe the first 2 years, they had very different methods to cope with the COVID-19 time. But this is actually interesting that some member states of the Council of Europe and the Convention, some states declared this state of emergency or a public health emergency and restricted fundamental freedoms without invoking this derogation clause that we talked.
Can I interrupt you shortly?
Yeah.
So to the public who is following this or anyone listening, can you, in a nutshell, say in a really short summary, what is the difference between this derogation declaration and or this public health emergency? Because they are kind of like similar type things, but
yeah,
still they are not really.
Yeah. So okay, there can be a state can declare this public health emergency without invoking this derogation clause. For example, I think Finland actually can be counted on this group of member states that declared a public health emergency, but did not invoke the derogation clause. Conversely, some state parties, such as Albania, Armenia, Estonia, Georgia, Latvia, North Macedonia, Moldova, Romania, and Serbia, did notify the Council of Europe Secretariat of their intention to invoke Article 15 of the Convention. But Finland did not. So what this means...
But here it says that the Council of Europe of their intention to invoke, but did they really invoke it ever? Do you know? It says on the number
yeah.
intention, but it doesn't say if they really did it.
Actually, I haven't checked it, but we can actually check it if we want, because here is a hyperlink to the web page where they can be checked.
Yeah, hey, let's check it out.
Okay, it seems at the moment the web page is not working. And now my Zoom is blocking my view. I should, but okay, that's not so important right now. I'm quite sure that at least some states actually invoked it. But the point here is that Finland did not invoke this derogation
I will
clause.
at the same time we're talking, because you are sharing the screen, I will look it up from from the article. Just una momento. But keep going on.
Yeah. Okay. So, but what this means, if we compare states that did invoke this derogation clause and states that did not, the actions they took are reviewed with different standards by the Court of Human Rights. So we can read here that the absence of a notification of derogation under Article 15 means that the restrictive measures adopted by Finland during the health crisis remained subject to the court's normal and strict review of compliance with the convention. On the other hand, if these other states, such as Albania, Armenia, Estonia, if they invoked this derogation clause, their actions would be considered with this less strict standards. Do you get it?
Yes. I'm now sending you the. Let me see. I have the link here now, but I'm trying the. Look now, if you can share the screen for there is now on the chat the link to the derogation website.
Yeah, now it's working. Yes. Wait a second. Let me try to switch. Can you see it now?
Yes, now it's here. Yes.
I haven't seen this earlier, but okay, we can see that there's. Let's take, for example, Estonia, which is our neighbor state. We can see 20th March 2020 and 18th May 2020. Okay, there's declaration related. And a withdrawal of a derogation. Okay, so Estonia did apply for the derogation.
Armenia also, they have been declaring like a withdrawal
Yeah.
16th of September, but there has been many declaration and then communication after that.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, this is actually quite interesting. I didn't check out this earlier, but we can see that the different member states of the convention have had very different kind of action.
If you open the Latvia, for example, there the notification March 16 declaration. So let's see what is there.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, okay, Article 15 of the Convention. Yeah, so Latvia exercises the right of derogation from its obligations under the convention in the entire territory of Latvia. Okay, so Latvia is also quite near to Finland, and it's
I want to
interesting
say a
that.
short story about Latvia. You know, it's an Eastern European ex-Soviet state. I heard the story from a friend of mine. I think he was on a business trip in Latvia, and when there was the COVID pass, you couldn't even get bank to the bank cashier place in the street to take cash out if you didn't have the COVID pass. Outside, they went like a full on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, uh, if that if someone would have taken that to the Court of Human Rights, and if it was a time when this derogation clause was in force, then most probably the Court of Human Rights would have said that, okay, Latvia exercised their right to derogate from these convention rights, and unfortunately, the applicant loses the case.
But the other side of the coin is here that if the applicant was able to live the life with the COVID pass and take the vaccine that can harm you, make you disabled, make even kill you, according to official statistics, is not stopping transmission. So that's a kinda that's a big battle, like with this derogation and the COVID pass as the symbol of freedom, which it really was. So this is really
Yes.
like well, I think this derogation is like it's a big talk itself. Could go for hours with this, but as we can see, it's mostly um, or quite a few countries have been doing this derogation thing there.
Yeah, we can actually check. There's Moldova, Romania, 2020, 21. These are
San
actually
Marino.
most are in 2020, but some are 21, end of 21, 22, and end of 31st December 22, Georgia. Okay, so we can see that this was used by other member states, but
Things
not.
here, like what is really in the practical terms, what has been the difference with, let's say, for example, Finland and Estonia, or Norway and Estonia or Georgia? What has been in a real life really the difference with the public health emergency declared, and then they're closing restaurants and big public places and all that stuff? And so what is really the difference? But yeah.
Sorry, I'm messing up with my screen. Sorry. So what was your question?
Like those countries who were doing this derogation declaration and those who didn't. But in practical terms, in everyday life, what was really the difference for people living their life, let's say in Finland and Norway versus Latvia and Estonia? Maybe nothing.
Yeah, probably nothing. Yeah, this at least in theory, the when this derogation clause was activated in a state, at least in theory, the government and the legislation bodies had more rights to, and more, well, they had more free hands in the from the point of view of the Court of Human Rights and the Convention of Human Rights. But in practice, I don't know. It's a empirical question which could be studied, but maybe
Maybe
it,
for another time.
yeah, maybe for another time. Okay, but the point here is that Finland did not invoke this derogation clause, and that the it's because Finland did not derogate from this clause. That means that every action that the state of Finland did is reviewed with the normal standards and normal strictness. So
Scrutiny.
scrutiny. So in this case, emergency will read the law. Emergency has to read the law normally here because hätä lukee lakia.
Obey
No.
the law. Do what I say. Read
Yeah.
what it says and do what I tell you to do. And people,
So
if you wonder how I'm full of energy, I was having a good workout, so my blood is running. So that's the reason I maybe look like energetic, not so tired like last time.
yes. So measures taken under ordinary law are subject to stricter scrutiny than those taken under a formal derogation, Article 15. So here it's written. Okay, this was about the derogation clause. And now we go to the proportionality of these restrictions, which are reviewed with the normal way. And so yeah, so in any case, if a member state wants to derogate in any way from these rights of the convention, these derogations, I'm not sure if our viewers will understand this derogation word correctly. Now, just on the earlier page,
I think the street language interpretation for derogation is exemption.
Yes, that's a good one. And now, just a minute ago, we talked about this derogation clause, which is the Article 15 of the convention. And if this derogation clause, Article 15, is invoked, it gives the member state the right to derogate the rights of the convention with more freedom, with more force than if the derogation clause is not invoked.
If you don't obey, we use force.
Yeah, and so, but now we go to this more general discussion about restricting basic rights, human rights, and we have these kind of basic rules that has to be applied every time when a member state wants to derogate these basic human rights in any way. And we have, if there are any people listening or viewing who have studied law or human rights law, there's we have here in Finland this thing called perusoikeuksien rajoitusoppi or perusoikeuksien yleiset rajoitusedellytykset, the basic requirements for restricting basic rights. And we have these, for example, this proportionality.
We have the Viert language. So
yes, So we have this certain basic criteria for derogating basic human rights in any setting. So the restriction has to be strictly proportionate to the danger, and it has to be based on a pressing social need, and it basically has to have proper safeguards, and it has to be proportionate to the legitimate aim pursued, and in Finland, this discussion has been continued so that this kind of a restriction cannot derogate the so-called core area, ydinalue, the core area of the right, and it has to be the derogation has to be based on a written law, basically parliament law. So this kind of lower statutes or decrees, at least in Finland, cannot be used for derogating from basic human rights. Okay, so this is a kind of the setting here. So first we discuss here the proportionality of restrictions on rights and freedom. And yeah, so this is Virginie's argumentation that if the COVID-19 pandemic had catastrophic effects on the health of the vast majority of citizens, on society, on the economy, or on the functioning of the state, the request for a derogation should have been notified to the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. And
I think that's a really good point. We have given the European of Human Rights. Like my case is that they didn't sell me breakfast, but the Finland had not even made a derogation.
Yeah,
but you cannot have breakfast because you don't have the COVID pass.
Yeah, so yeah, we could make the question that did Sanna Marin's government did they even know about this possibility, or did they just decide not to use it? If I had to guess, I would guess that they didn't even know about this possibility. But I don't know.
That wouldn't surprise me, seeing what they were doing.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah, but then we come to this necessity, and for a derogation of a right to be proportionate, it has to first of all be necessary, and it entails two conditions. It must be based on a pressing social need, and it must be proportionate to the legitimate aim pursued. Yeah. So, and here's some elaboration to this, that the interference is not considered disproportionate if it is limited in its scope and effect, and if it is duly accompanied by the safeguards provided for under domestic law to protect the individual against arbitrariness. And this relates actually again to what we discussed last time about there not being any way to complain about the COVID pass legislation or its application, for example, in the administrative courts. So there were no safeguards. And actually, because there was no safeguards, you had basically no other choice but to take the case to as a civil case to the district court.
You mean that?
Yeah.
You mean here that there was no real way to complain for a private citizen? We were talking earlier as well. You're referring to that.
Yeah, that relates to this safeguard
Yeah.
question.
So
And
so just to clarify, Phaser, the cafe, or any nightclub, church, sport club, swimming hall, whatever place, they could complain to the Office of Aerial Governance, whatever you call it in English. Here in Finland, there was a way to do that, but for any private person, there was no way to complain anywhere legally. And
actually, the restaurants didn't also have a way to complain, I
oh,
think.
to Avi,
Yeah.
are you sure? They were able to complain about the restrictions to Avi. I think they were. Because the restrictions, that's what I think.
Oh, yeah, actually, yes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the first time I'm right?
No.
Because because you are
Like,
usually right if we argue on something, but
yeah,
I'm
like
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
you're like Paavo Väyrynen, who once said that I once thought I made an error, but I mistaked.
Yeah. I have made many
Yeah.
mistakes in life, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Let's go
Yeah.
on.
Okay. But this mm, yeah, so okay, here we have a argumentation that the state must have fulfilled its duty of care with the normal normal review, and this is I think this is important in practice. Striking the right balance with the derogation of basic rights involves giving priority to the interests of the individual's rights over the general interests of the community as a whole. And this is we actually come to this question again in the end of this section we are trying to get through with this video, and it relates to the medical ethics, and it's actually yeah, I think it's not an intuitive it's not an intuitive thing. You could end up with the opposite also, and actually that is what the opposite of this was kind of the major paradigm at the COVID era.
But
Okay,
this
we
striking the right balance, this sentence here, give priority to the interests of the individual's rights over the general interest of the community as a whole. So does this apply whether there is derogation made or not? Or
yeah, that's
whether there is a
that's a
public,
good question.
or if there is a public health emergency made? Because Dr. Claire Craig, who gave an expert statement here as well, she's emphasizing also that if the private person is not free, then the whole community is not free. And this is actually because, they were saying you have to take these vaccines and this COVID pass because of your neighbor, because of the society, community, people around you, your family, your colleagues, your customers, whatever. But this is interesting, like, and this is how it should be. Interest
Yeah,
of the individual's rights over the general interest of the community as a whole.
yeah. Maybe we'll return to this after a few pages because it will come
Okay.
up it will come up there anyhow.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
so
go. Let's go.
let's continue. Okay, so we come back to this proportionality and the requirement of proportionality basically means that it should impose the least restrictive measure possible on the fundamental freedoms at stake. And these measures must always have a legitimate aim and comply with the principle of proportionality between the means employed and the goals pursued. This is straight from the case law of the Court of Human Rights. And yeah, okay, so yeah, we are getting already some repetition, but repetition is the mother of learning. So the Court of Human Rights recognizes that the interference with the rights of the convention is subject to a threefold condition. The first is that the measure must be prescribed by law. The second concerns the interference which must pursue a legitimate aim. And the third condition requires that such interference must be necessary in a democratic society. And this is really interesting. This is something I had not come up with, at least with this amount of clarity before. So a measure is lawful and therefore proportionate to the legitimate aim pursued only when it respects the principles inherent in a democratic society, which are, for example, pluralism, tolerance, and a spirit of openness. And anyone can try to remember how pluralist or how tolerant or in what way our societies were applying this spirit of openness.
Yeah, the coffee machine tap was not open, and I couldn't open the glacier to get the croissant. There was no tolerance at Fatser, but they
Yeah,
tolerated me enough and my friends that they let us in like 5 meters to the checkpoint of COVID pass. So they were a little tolerant. But then they said you have to show the pass that you can move a few meters on, pay the coffee and croissant, and maybe sit around the table and not go outside to the dark December, cloudy, rainy, gray is Finnish morning.
yeah, and I think actually, yeah, this is this pluralism, which in this when we are talking about democracy or democratic societies,
Do you mean
did we
the
have
opposite is totalitarianism?
basically, yeah. So I think this pluralism means that in a democratic society, we should have different views of different kinds of people be heard and respected. And there should be tolerance to different kinds of opinions and views. And it's quite easy to say that during the COVID era, these principles they were not there. They were basically, if not non-existent, then they were quite hard to find anywhere. Yeah, but this is actually this definition necessary in a democratic society. This is you can find this actually in several of the rights of the convention. For example, the right to freedom of speech, the right to freedom of religion. It says in the convention that these rights are protected and they can be only derogated from if it is necessary in a democratic society. And that means that these principles of pluralism, tolerance, and the spirit of openness, they should be respected when this condition of derogating, when it's necessary in a democratic society, these should be taken into account.
So there was we can shortcut here that there was no derogation declaration made in Finland, and there was even it was not made. There was no pluralism, tolerance, and spirit of openness when the COVID pass was in effect.
Yeah, and
That's it.
we had this. Yeah. So yeah, like we discussed at some point earlier, when I tried to think, it's not fun to be, so negative, to just say, just only to criticize. I was trying to think that, is there anything the state of Finland did right in a correct way, especially with this process of yours?
Yeah, in the court.
And,
yeah,
in the court. Yeah, and during the legislation process and etc. But I cannot think of anything. In practice, they failed at every point. I'm sorry to say this, but
what we can say is that the signatures of the district court and the court of appeal were actually correct.
Yeah, the digital signatures. Yeah, they were
correct, because the Supreme Court,
actually.
Ari Kantor, the other justices, signature is invalid in the system, as it says. But district court and the court of appeal, the signatures are in line with the system. But the decision itself is against the Constitution of Finland and against the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah, but okay. What they did right was this: they did fulfill this condition of the measure be prescribed by law. They did make the law, but
the law itself has full of loopholes.
Yeah, and
it was not made really checking out every key area.
Yeah, and the legislation process had several problems, which Matti Muukkonen analyzed.
Yeah, we will come to that later. More.
Yes, we will come to that later. Yes,
but not today. Not today.
Not today. Yes, but was there a legitimate aim? Okay, the aim was to protect people and to stop the transmission of the disease, but it didn't.
Can we say that part was like there was like a good intention?
In theory, at least, yeah.
Yeah, but then the problem is here when they were making this law, it came into effect, I remember, October 15th, 2021. That was the
Yeah.
date when the COVID pass law came into effect. Before
Yes.
that, it was already known that these vaccines do not stop transmission.
Mm.
And
Yes.
then the goal of the law was to stop the transmission.
Mm. Yes.
So
So therefore, we can say that the legislation did not pursue a legitimate aim. Yeah, we can say that. And at least we can say that it was not necessary in a democratic society.
absolutely no.
Yeah. Okay. So strict scrutiny of these three conditions is essential. Yeah. And yeah, okay, well, here we have what we just mentioned, that Matti Muukkonen told us that the Ministry of Health and Social Affairs, sosiaali- ja terveysministeriö, refused to accept his expert opinion on the COVID passes, this equality scenario. Yeah, and yeah, Muukkonen notes the state of Finland's breach of its duty to investigate, which is a positive obligation on the state to establish a sufficient factual basis in the event of a serious interference with fundamental rights. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, okay, so then we have some mention about these PCR tests. I'm quite sure that most of our viewers know about this, but maybe we just say shortly that okay, these PCR tests were in this COVID pass legislation scenario, they were an alternative to vaccination, but the problem was that the PCR tests do not measure the individual's actual infectiousness, but rather non-viable viral RNA fragments, and the test is neither valid nor reliable for diagnosing infectiousness. Especially because we in Finland and I guess at least in Europe, USA, the PCR test was run with usually 40 to 45 cycles, and at least in Finland, we got this information from the Terveyden ja hyvinvoinnin laitos, Health and Welfare Center, that it was the PCR tests were run with 40 cycles usually, and if or that was the maximum in the basic use, and the problem was that even I actually sent messages to the PHL, and I tried to ask them if they gathered more precise information about the cycle threshold values used, especially with the positive results, and they said that no, we don't collect that information. So because the information wasn't gathered, then basically we have to presume that every positive test was run with 40 cycles, and I think it was 35 cycles or 37 cycles that generated over 97% false positives. So actually, even this is an understatement here, because even 37 cycles, if I remember correctly, did produce over 97% false positives. So, and if there is someone in the audience who disagrees, with these scientific claims, we are very happy to hear your your arguments,
Yeah, and
your
I want
counter
to say
arguments.
here as a comment as well that anyone here watching, if you want to have a debate, you disagree, you find a mistake, just comment publicly under these posts or
Yes,
contact us. We are here for the truth. We are here for the right. We are not here trying to present something that cannot be examined or looked into very carefully. So
yes,
you are welcome, and you are welcome to challenge us in the public live debate about the COVID pass and the measures and everything here, even about this application to the European Court of Human Rights. So all of that is welcome. We don't close
yes,
anything out.
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, you are very welcome to criticize us or give us counter arguments.
You can say it.
Okay.
I can give you this compliment. No, not the compliment, but you can say it in a nice way or a blunt way or a rude way. It doesn't matter. Just talk.
Yeah. Okay. So
We are Finns. We are tough.
yes. So
Oh my goodness.
then
What's next? What's next?
then we have something about our witnesses and experts Hanna Nohynek and Asko Järvinen that confirmed at the district court that as early as autumn 21, the vaccines did not prevent transmission. And we had actually quite much evidence about this at the district court and these experts witness statements. And Dr. Claire Craig, in her expert opinion, demonstrated that these mRNA vaccines did not produce these IgA mucosal immunity necessary to prevent infection or transmission. So she argued that it wasn't even possible in the beginning that these mRNA vaccines would have prevented infection or transmission.
That's very important here as well to point
Yeah,
it
yeah,
out.
yes.
Very,
This is
very
actually very
important.
important.
Thank you,
Yes,
Claire, for this. Thank you.
yeah. Her actually, we could review also her statement at some later point. It was super good.
Yeah, it's long
And
and good. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. So these there were these scientific studies about these highly vaccinated populations. For example, in Massachusetts, Israel, UK. We referred to these cases in the district court, but these cases confirm the absence of any measurable reduction in transmission. Yeah. So, okay, this
That's unbelievable.
this is about you. The individual risk for a healthy 41-year man was 35 deaths per million. I cannot visualize that, but I think it's quite small.
Does that mean
Number.
like the risk to die for COVID or die for vaccine?
Oh yeah, actually, I think it refers to the COVID. Yeah, but okay, then we got the Ase Malhotra's expert opinion, who made the claim that there was never any evidence to justify COVID-19 vaccination mandates, vaccine passports, or any other coercive measures. Yeah, and he confirmed that by December 21, the medical and scientific community should have known that COVID-19 vaccines were far from safe or effective and far from preventing the transmission of COVID-19. Yeah, okay, these are strong claims. And if someone in the audience disagrees, yeah, yeah.
Welcome to argue publicly.
Yeah.
But that's quite a good statement here. The consensus, the 75 among the expert, Dr. Matti Muukkonen, Dr. Claire Craig, Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger, Dr. Asim Alder, and the official Finnish expert, Dr. Hanna Nohynek and Dr. Asko Järvinen, unanimously establishes that the contested measures lacked a sufficient factual basis as of 10th December 21, when I was denied the entry to the cafe. So all of them, all of them.
Yeah.
My expert witnesses and the witnesses in the court.
Yeah. And as a consequence, the Finnish state failed to fulfill its duty of care and disproportionately infringed Mika's fundamental rights.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Maybe you could argue about some details here, but this is, I think, this is something no one can counter argue that the contest measures lacked a sufficient factual basis at 10th December 21. Yeah, actually, it will be if we are what's our time?
I'm sorry.
How long have we been here?
I think we've been a little bit over hour.
Yeah. With the recording?
Yeah, recording. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because here
around
here
1 hour.
Yeah, because here we will go to the next big topic, and I think this would be actually.
Okay,
Yeah, I
should
think
we stop this here?
Yeah, I think this would be a good place to stop and continue on the next time.
Yeah, so we will we then have like 4 pieces of this dossier application, the European main dossier we will go through. So initially we were thinking 3, but I think if we stop it now here, it's gonna be 4 altogether. But let's have it here. So I think we close it here.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody watching this, and we will continue next time.
And if you have any questions, put some comments down below.
Yes.
Comment section.
Absolutely. Thank you.